What's up, everybody? It's Pavise, back with a Fortune's Weave discussion. The direct has dropped, so if you're looking for an hour of people just yapping, you've come to the right place, because joining me today to talk about the Fortune's Weave Direct is the one and only Mecha.
Hey, how's it going?
Is it going good? I'm just going to jump right into this then. What's your gut reaction? Because at least for me, I came into the Direct very kind of on the fence about this game, and I left the Direct extremely excited. More excited, I think, for final game than I've been in years.
There's a lot of that trailer that I was really intrigued by, that really interested me. There's also some things that I'm like mildly worried about, but overall, yeah, I'm just really curious. I think that's the main feeling that I'm feeling right now. Is like, I want to know how this is all going to work, because we got a lot of questions were answered, but mostly with more questions.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Let's get started with kind of the main theory debate of past or future going on right now. We do see a date at the beginning of the trailer, 1449. Now, the dates, if I'm not mistaken, when it's showing this, I believe it ticks up when it's showing the dates. It may seem small, but for me, that implies the future. I feel like if this was like before Three Houses, we'd be taken back, but maybe it's just because there's a time skip. But then there's so many details in this trailer that point in so many different directions.
I'm really annoying in this discussion, because whenever someone shows up in my chat and goes like, I'm sure it's this, I do like, no, you don't know this, because there's this copium answer that could mean the opposite thing. I'm an annoying enlightened centrist on this. If I had to like pick one, like you put a nun with a gun to my head to pick one of the two, I would probably go with past, but I'm like super on the fence about it, because it's so tough. Because yeah, the dates is there and they show it, and like the people who make these trailers, they want you to know that this year is there, but also it could be a different calendar system, so it could just mean absolutely nothing. We don't know. What I think is most important here is that this whole story holds up on its own and is not dependent on Three Houses, on whether it's before or after, because both a sequel and a prequel have their own challenges to overcome. If it's a prequel, then it can, and if there's like a really big war, like end of the world level war happening in the past, and no one in Three Houses talks about it, that's kind of really hard to justify retroactively. Like, how did no one in Three Houses know about this? I guess they could just like completely ignore the content of Dagda for the past 1,000 years. I guess it's possible, but it doesn't seem likely. So then, if it's in the future, then it can feel very disconnected from the events of Three Houses, because at that point, then what really matters? But there's so many references to Three Houses in the trailers. Like, there's people that look like other people from Three Houses, and there's people that are people from Three Houses, so it can't be completely disconnected. So it's a really hard line to walk. And that's the part that I'm most interested in. And whether it's prequel or sequel, I would not be surprised if we went through this whole game and we still don't know.
You know what? You actually could be very right about that. We might not even get an answer ourselves. I think what's interesting about some of the cast that looks like other people in the cast or from Three Houses cast, like some lookalikes, is like how much of that is they're from the same place and how much of that is direct relation in terms of descendant or, you know, predecessor. I don't know, because some like I think the Shamir lookalike, I think Io, like that is really close. Like I don't know how close you can get to literally looking like the exact same character, but maybe they all have purple hair and that exact face shape. I just don't have any clue. So like we'll see. Because I assume not all the characters will be related or have direct relation, but some look like they do. Yeah, I hope not as well. But it looks like some do, but that makes the line blurry on where maybe there isn't a connection, like a direct connection. So I'll also be interested to see, like you're saying, how dependent or how much does this lean on Three Houses to make its story work. Like you, I hope it doesn't lean on it too much.
And some characters are like really close. My go-to example for characters that resemble Three Houses are, of course, Dietrich, because Like, it's the same face. It's the same profile, like the same Tinder bio as
Same Tinder bio.
He likes like sweets and animals, or like cats or dogs. I forgot which. Like, they're so close. It's super intentional. And then Ursula, I think her crit quote is like, you can hear it in the background while the narrator's talking about something else. And she goes like, my blood compels me, which I think is Marianne's crit quote in Three Houses as well, or at least something she would say. And of course, everyone already knows the hair colors are the same.
Actually, I didn't catch that. That's interesting. The crit quote thing in the background.
One last thing is, I think Murder's Intent, the skill that I think both Dietrich and Iritsa both showed that skill in some trailer. So the connections could run so deep that there is some derivativeness in there.
Yeah, and I think some of that's okay, but hopefully it doesn't overwhelm what the game's trying to achieve on its own. Or hopefully it's even trying to. It looks like it's trying to achieve stuff on its own. But moving on from, I guess, the year setting, what do you think about like the actual physical setting itself, or what we've seen of Dagda so far? Because I'm really excited about this setting. I mean, just from this city here, the main city, I think Dagdian is what it's called, if I'm not correct. Or
might be Daxian, but
Daxian, Dagdian,
pin on it. Yeah, something like it. It's very similar to Dagda.
Yeah. You can just feel the kind of Carthage kind of like energy of like the circular port and the building types. You have this like Mediterranean, North African, and African influences that Fire Emblem has like never pulled from before from its settings or for its settings. And you can see that kind of bleed through not only in the setting itself, but in the classes that are being picked. And I think the setting itself kind of sets up the game to explore just really interesting things with its character designs, with the classes, with the locations. And for me, this is one of the actually key draws overall of the game right now, is actually the setting itself, because I think Dagda might be one of the most interesting continents or settings we've gotten in the series like so far, and I hope they can execute it.
I agree. It's very fresh. It's not it's not something I know a whole lot about previously, so I might even learn a thing or two. I think Fire Emblem has almost always pulled from more like medieval Europe kind of thing. You know, you got your knights, you got your castles. We've had some trips to Japan with like Fate doing kind of like a Europe versus Japan lookalike thing. This is just completely new, and I like that a lot. I like the aesthetics a lot. I hope we get to see more than just the capital, and more than just because in the future it's like all in ruins, so it's more like you're fighting in a post-apocalyptic world. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Or like a kind of a void kind of place. So more interested in the past, as it were. In the year 1449 and anything else. I hope we get to see outside of the city as well. Like I saw some shots of like them fighting in what looks more like a jungle or a grass terrain kind of place. Because as interesting as the city is, I hope we don't spend the whole game there. But from what I've seen, it looks really interesting. The hub looks pretty good as well, from a graphical point and just from like where you can go. But I think when the trailer first dropped and we got our first overview of that city, I was pretty hooked. At that point I wasn't even sure if it was Fire Emblem yet. I was still like, oh, that game looks kind of cool kind of mode when I was watching a Nintendo Direct. I was like, oh, I hope this is the game I get to play. And then it turned out to be Fire Emblem. I was like pretty happy about that. I think that's a good sign. Yeah,
usually when a Fire Emblem trailer shows up, you can tell right away.
You
can pretty much tell. But this one did have it like, is this Fire Emblem? 3 question marks. Like, and then it
got like squinted eyes. Yeah.
I agree with your concern of I hope the whole game isn't here. Like, obviously there's the world map where you can go out and explore and do stuff in the world. But how much of the story is out there? Because, like...
That's true.
If all of the story... Because they're, this is jumping ahead to the turn system and, how the system works. But it seems like you return here, like, for every chapter. Or as the main story progression. And I kind of really hope that there's actually some story or main story that takes place outside of the Colosseum. I'm sure it will, but I do have a concern that a lot of this game will be in the Colosseum, because it looks like the whole system is kind of built around it for stuff to take place here in the story. And I worry that the only way you'll see the world is actually the map exploration. because I mean, I'm kind of a sucker. You know, like Fire Emblem stories where they show a world map and then they flash like, this is the country and this is what's happening and this is where the people are moving on the map. Like, I'm kind of a sucker for that, and I kind of think being stuck in one place for the story could get dull, but you know, the Colosseum itself shifts, which mitigates it a little bit. But I share your concern on that.
If all we have is the prologue for however long it will last, and then the tournament, and then 5 years passed, and then we're just fighting in what seems like a completely different place, or this place but in ruins, then that's going to be a bit of a bummer for me. I agree with that. Because we've seen a bunch of different like parts of it. We don't know what order they're in, but we've seen a lot of like goals for the month or whatever like time you get until the next match.
Yeah.
And they're mostly just arena matches. Like, you have until this to have your next arena match or your qualifier match or the second round or the third round. And if that's all the game is a giant tournament arc, that would be a bit of a bummer. Maybe there's some kind of expedition in between. I think I've seen at least 1 or 2 shots of there being like a slightly different goal. But for example, like Three Houses had a similar problem kind of, where you spent a lot of time and story in the monastery, but at the very least the chapters took place outside of it, so there was like an excuse to go somewhere else, like the Grand Canyon or whatever it's called. Not that's the American place.
You see a lot of cool
Red
locations.
Canyon? Yeah, and Three Houses has its own problems with locations where they will like reuse them, sometimes even inappropriately, but at least they went somewhere, and that was cool. And I think part of what kept Three Houses intriguing as well is that there's always something brewing that you can kind of sense and you get glimpses of, like what's the deal with the Western Church, or what's the deal with Rhea being so secretive, or who is this Flame Emperor guy, or
There's lots of
why did
mystery.
Flame get kidnapped? Yeah, there's a lot of mystery that
Intrigue.
is not necessary. Yeah, there's intrigue from like within and outside of the monastery that is constantly affecting your life and your mental state and what you're thinking about during the story. There's a lot of things that are being built up. And if this story is just, let's go to the next tournament, that'd be a bummer. That would really suck. But that's just speculation on my part. There could be a lot of that there.
This is just
Like,
speculation.
Yeah. Like what I really am interested in really is how the people that are in this tournament, how they relate to each other. Like, do they have something going on? We know that Letta is like out for vengeance for like some guy that seems to be on another team. So that's like one hint of like cross-faction rivalry, or worse than that. That's the kind of stuff that I want to know. It's like, what else is going on besides the tournament? Because the tournament is, at the end of the day, it's just a tournament. It's not the most important thing ever to me.
Yeah, same. Like, clearly, this continent is such a rich tapestry of places and people. I want to see it, and I want to see it matter in the story. Like, and I want to go to these places. And yeah, like, I could go on the world map, it seems like. But how much of those world map battles are just going to be, you know, kind of generic locations when you fight on them, and not like actually finely crafted maps of the place? You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference, right? Of like, I don't know, this random encounter node is on a forest, so when I go there, it loads the forest jungle battle map or whatever. And rather than, here's this incredible other city that we're fighting or battling in, or here's this incredible, like, I don't know, Victoria Falls, or like, I don't know, Mount, like, Kilimanjaro inspired location, right? Like, I'm just thinking of African influences to pull from, of like cool battle location. But if we're just only doing the cool battles here, that would be, like you said, a little bit of a bummer. But again, this is all just speculation. We don't actually know yet.
We do know that at least some battles will be outside of the Colosseum, because I think there's like sections where every lord is going towards the arena, whether by Will or by Dietrich, who's like on the ship. I think he's just gonna wash ashore and be like, oh, there's a tournament near here, let's go. And he just goes there.
Yeah, I guess I could fight at that.
Yeah, I guess so. There could be some opponents there. I don't know. It seems to be his whole motivation so far.
Yeah, that's actually a good segue into the characters. Whose route are you most interested in out of the 4 that we saw? Like, who do you think you're going to play through their story first?
My favorite by far so far is Letta. I am super interested in what she's up to, but this is a game where I am actually legit interested in all 4 of these. I haven't seen a group of protagonists so interesting since Three Houses. So it's not by a long shot. I will be playing all 4 at some point. I know that for sure. What about you?
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I think all 4 are interesting. I think I'm on the same page with you if I think Leda is the most interesting, or I want to know the most about what's going on with her story. Honestly, the more I've learned about Theodora's story, I'm also very interested in terms of them or her country worshiping, I think, the god of death, and that that causes them to be kind of ostracized by everyone else, and kind of like how that gets navigated through. Like, what do you do when you're in charge of the country that worships death? Like, what do you do? Like, when everyone else is like, yo, that death guy is not chill. What do you do when you worship that guy? And how does that interweave with, the politics of the story? And so Theodora's has piqued my interest since this direct of getting more information. So I'd say Leda and Theodora, and then Dietrich, I think, is also just seems like a kind of a fun route, and also seems like the one that has the kind of most connections to 3 houses and Foldlet. And I'm interested to see how those connections manifest. The only one I'm not really sold on is Kai, mainly because Kai, it's the kind of the teenager shonen plot, like, oh, I'm a Fire Emblem Lord and I'm 15 years old and my dad is in prison and he's probably gonna die in the first 2 seconds of the story, or like it's the more formulaic one. There's
his whole
intrigue there
motivation is
too,
to get his dad free, so I think he'll last at least 10 seconds.
At least 10 seconds at minimum. But there's no way the dad lives. There's no shot the dad lives the story.
It would be really fun if the dad can live for once, though. Come on.
You know what? If the dad lives, Fire Emblem has truly changed. This is truly a new page for the series if protagonist parents are living the opening act of the story.
I would like to go to bat for Kai for a little bit here, because even though I agree that he ranks 4th in the one that I would like to play immediately if I had to choose one. But there's a couple things about him that intrigue me. I noticed somewhere that there was a screenshot that was only on the Nintendo Today app or something, or on a Japanese website somewhere, where you can see Kai walking around in the hub world, and there's an ability to use his third eye or whatever that means, or something like that. Which is that doesn't sound like anything that we've heard about him so far. That seems like he has some kind of arcane powers.
Is it referring to maybe his palm thing? Like his palm orb?
Yeah, possibly, yeah. Kind of looks like an eye. And he doesn't have that for no reason, right? It's got to be something more to him than just, I'm just a villager boy trying to save my dad who got thrown in prison because I fell from a high thing or something.
Yeah, that's the intrigue I'm interested in, of what the fuck is up with his laser beam hand?
Why do you have that?
How did he get that, or why does he have that? What's going on with that?
Kai? A knife, a laser.
Oh. Yeah.
No. And also, I think someone on Reddit posted what was it? There was something to his name. I think his name was a reference to a demon lord or something. There's speculation of a connection to Baylor. I think it was that his name and the name of the big bad had some kind of role in the same story somewhere, so it might be connected to the big bad. Who knows?
Interesting.
That could also be a thing that they explore.
I feel like each character is kind of something demonic going on. In terms of, and I kind of really like that too. Theodora's making pacts with gods and literally worships death. Leda's just unhinged, filled with bloodthirst. Kai's got this weird laser beam in his hand, and now you're saying that maybe it's tied to the big bad. Dietrich is just already just in it. It's just look at his design.
Yeah, I mean, all Dietrich's lines are super ominous about this too.
Yeah,
he has a sword called the Answer. He teleports around. These people all made a deal with the devil at some point, probably, or their ancestors did. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you see the scene with Theodora getting with her arm?
Yes, I did see it. That's crazy. I love that shit. More please. Yes, waiter. Yes, waiter. More demonic arms and crazy shit.
For those who haven't seen it, there's a scene. I don't remember where it was posted. It might also be an exclusive app thing, where I think you can see Theodora going to a temple of some kind, being inside it, and agreeing to something with like a statue, and then the statue kind of explodes, and the hand of the statue like drops down with the arm. And I think Theodora shows that she's missing an arm, so she puts on the arm of the statue, something like that. Now she has a prosthetic arm, basically.
Yeah, and who knows what powers that actually holds. I don't think that's just the thing to chuck rocks, because she does have the ability to chuck rocks.
True. She does eat rock. Yeah, she must make people eat rock. I forgot about
that. But like,
part.
I don't know if that's with the prosthetic arm, or dude, that thing better have a cooler power than just chucking rocks.
I mean, it could do multiple things. I don't know. Maybe it's just a really strong arm.
Yeah, it's just.
It would be really cool is that, like, if she just throws rocks with the other arm. That's yeah. Not even using half my power here. I'm
not even using by Robo arm.
Bro, I could beat you with one arm behind my back, and that's my like devil arm.
All right, so at this point in the direct, it kind of gets into a lot of gameplay stuff, a lot of stuff that Fire Emblem fans would be pretty familiar with, like how to attack and use a menu. But there was lots of interesting things going on with the weapons. It started off very simple. It was like, oh, swords, axes, spears, magic, and then we got to the moment I think that everyone was memeing on. Yeah, with with Anatolia, which, by the way, this gun is called a salamander, which is also such like a gun-coded name. Like,
do you think it fires bullets?
I mean, it literally it's like a laser beam more than it is like a pellet. Like, it seems more like a magic gun than it seems like, musket gun or pellet gun. Like, it's more of laser beam coated in terms of what it actually shoots.
That's true. I've never noticed that before. I think it might be a crit thing when it does that. I remember I was watching the trailer and I looked at the comments, and the top comment was like, it's a gauntlet that looks like a gun, and the comment was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to hold up in court.
Yeah, because the narration here is very silly. The narration is like, yeah, it's a gauntlet that appears like a firearm. I'm like, bro, that's just a firearm, dog. Like, the Nintendo trying to plead the fifth, probably trying to keep the rating down or whatever, with shit like that. But like, you know what? This feeds into a wider thing with the game, but I'm excited for just the variety on what's on offer here. In terms of the classes and the weapons. And when I first saw the gun in the previous direct, because we did see the gun. They weren't shooting it, I think, at that point, but they were just actually using them as gauntlets, I think, in the original trailer.
Yeah.
They were actually using them as gauntlets, which I don't know how the fuck that works either. But
you never pistol whip somebody?
Yeah, again, actually, no, you're right. You're right. No, pistol whip is now canonically in Fire Emblem as like a technique. So, but yeah, I'm just more interested in what this represents of the variety and weapon types that the game is willing to explore. I don't know why they're gauntlets though. Like, is it just literally going to be ranged gauntlet? Like,
I don't think it'll be just that. It might be. It's possible that the salamander is like either Anatolia's personal thing, or it's one of the few gauntlets or one of the only gauntlets that can fire at range, because they did mention that gauntlet special, users have more avoid. So there must be a reason to use them at one range. Like, why would you care about avoid if you're just using a ranged weapon? It seems kind of silly.
Yeah, like, this has to be a special weapon. There's no way you can just equip guns on everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you can. Maybe you can't. Maybe this isn't just an Anatolia thing. You can just fucking get your whole fucking team strapped and just ready to fucking go. But like it seems like a unique. It's in her portrait. It's literally in her portrait. Like, I don't think.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. On the official website, her portrait has the gun in it. Like, so clearly it's important to her character, or it must be unique in some way. But like, because I don't think we've seen anyone else using a gun or something like this. But once you introduce that as a weapon type, I guess you could have other characters using guns. But
there might have been like one other person in like a background somewhere that's doing that when they're watching like when you're watching people fight in the arena as part of your training or something, that activity.
Yeah.
But there might have been like a generic nun gunning somewhere in the background. There's like 5 people attacking at once in there, but I don't remember.
I'll go look real quick.
Yeah, okay.
This one, yeah?
Yes. Well, yeah, I think so.
These characters in the back?
Yeah, I think the other one's Ursula.
Oh wait,
She's using...
yeah. There's 2 people using guns, bro.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. Wait, or is that was 1? No, there's 2 with guns.
Yes.
So, do all of them just have guns? These, like, this faction? Or where they like...
This is Team America over here.
Yeah, just... like, where did they get them? I guess it's probably some Garth and Link, where it must be, right? Like,
Oh, maybe, yeah.
I don't know where
I
else
can't imagine you can
get
walk
this
into an
at.
armory and say, 5 guns, please.
Yeah. Like,
Jesus.
I doubt at the Coliseum they're just selling guns. Maybe, actually, we're already segueing a little bit into, this section of the game. Where is the
Oh yeah, if we need to go back on track, feel free to get us back on track.
Yeah, I will revert us back. We'll get back to this in a second. I'll go back to the gameplay. I actually was kind of hoping with Fire Emblem that they would go less into the futuristic gun route and go more of like the, I don't know, early muskets type route. But I'm cool with this too. Like,
Yeah, we skipped a step.
yeah, we skipped a step. We went straight to magical Glocks, but like, that's actually okay. I'm fine with that. I think it's an interesting weapon type to explore how it works in the gameplay. Were there any other weapons we saw that were particularly unique?
I think one unique thing I noticed, they were like, okay, so you got bows, they fire from range, and they hit flyers. Then they went to lances, and they said, yeah, lances are good against horse riders, like all of them. And you can see when you're buying weapons that all lances are indeed effective against horses.
Interesting.
So, cav nerf incoming?
It makes sense. Like, generally, like, spears and lances were kind of more of an anti-cavalry weapon, historically. Like, horses do struggle to deal with them. So if they're just baking this in as, like, the lances buff / cavalry debuff, then that's not completely out of left field in terms of, historical accuracy or... and we care a lot about historical accuracy in the game with magic,
hence the guns.
Hence the guns. We care a lot about what was actually being done in the Coliseum, So, glad to see that they're taking that on board too with the, the lances being effective against horses.
Yeah.
But I didn't notice that. That's actually very interesting.
It's a very interesting decision.
Yeah, because now I'm thinking about, okay, my POV of using cavalry now, there are so many more potential threats. And I guess with Pegasus Knights, you always had that with bows. But now if you have to worry about that with lances while you're using cavalry, I can actually see that being as a balancing thing. Probably pretty effective at toning down cavalry in terms of, how effective their movement is. But we'll see what gets rewarded and disincentivized in the gameplay, I guess, overall. Or get a sense for the meta once it's in our hands. It's kind of hard to tell just from watching what the meta ends up being in a Fire Emblem game. But interesting balance decision, for sure.
I guess they were afraid that everyone's going to run over their opponents with elephant riders. And they were like, well, we got to include a counter that somehow. How do you beat an elephant?
Getting into some of the mechanics they were showing off. We have the return of combat arts.
Right.
We have the return of positioning. What I want to talk about is... we could actually talk about combat arts for a little bit, but I think the most interesting thing they were showing here was blaze arts. And kind of these ultimate abilities. We've kind of seen this with Engage. With all these abilities tied to the emblems. We've seen Fire Emblem kind of get crazier of kind of the abilities you have at your disposal. And I like that this game is leaning into this too. So you've got Kai's like nuke fucking hand laser thing. You've got the teleport. Dude, the teleport looks so cool. I can't wait to use the teleport for some shenanigans. Like, I want to see the cool tactical applications of the teleport. You've got the super juiced dance, and then you've got Theodora just throwing a fucking rock. But I think these blaze arts look super cool, and I'm interested to see what you can do with them. But I kind of most interested in the teleport, which is so weird. Like, yeah, you could shoot a giant laser, chuck a rock, or juice your entire army, and I'm like, I want to teleport through a wall. Like,
oh my, oh my. I wonder if it's better to teleport one Dietrich to an army or to just throw a giant rock at them, or like Blazard nuke them all with Kai, because I think we saw him kill like 6 people at once with his Blazard.
Yeah, his Blazard seems crazy. Like, this shit, it kills like 6 people in like a giant range too. It's not even a small range. It's like how wide is this? 3 tiles wide on each side? Like,
yeah, and if the only cost is his HP, or maybe you can only do it once per combat, like that's just really strong, especially if you can just heal him back up. So there's probably more of a penalty to this.
And I guess this gets more into balance, I guess, of like, you know, obviously you want these abilities to feel strong and be strong, but you kind of don't want them to be game defining, if that makes sense. Like, where your whole strategy is always, you know, centralized around this. You know, Fire Emblem, when you get down to it, is a tactic game, right? Like, and I like the tactics of like having to structure my turn around using everyone effectively, rather than structuring my turn around using this one Blazard effectively for the whole game, you know?
I think I was worried about a similar thing with Engage, because the things they showed off in the trailers there were crazy. Like Warp Ragnarok, when I first saw that, I was like, whoa, that can't be good for the balance. But it turned out alright. Engage was kind of built around having those abilities, so I have faith.
But yeah, like, I think this stuff is cool. I think Blazards in general are looking cool. Although Theodora's just feels so underwhelming. Like, why is hers just throwing a rock? I don't know.
I mean, she still hits multiple people with it, right? At least, like, it might be.
It was just one
Kai's.
Target. It was
really?
one target.
Maybe it's just a really big damage.
It was just one target.
Aww.
It doesn't even hit the like. It doesn't hit the character behind here either.
Ah, he's 2 tiles away. Look, it's different. I mean, she'll be able to say eat rock. Isn't that clever?
Also, Lada's seems pretty crazy too. Like,
it's a massive rally, right?
Massive rally. Does this like? This must have some like dance ability, right? I don't think anyone here is getting danced. But if this is like an FE4 dance, like...
Oh, I don't think that, but like they all have the turn available when she's first using the ability, so I reckon it's just a big rally, and then the monster summon. Why does she get 2? Why does she get 2 things?
Dude, the monster
I think she had a bunch of
crazy.
different dances, actually. She, I think in a previous trailer, it actually showed like 5 different options for what she could do with her... What's her instrument called again? Her fuela?
I actually don't know.
I don't know either. Sorry, I put you on the spot there. But
don't
some of the
look at
monsters
me,
pretty cool,
dog.
right?
I don't know. I'm not a music guy. I don't play instruments. I don't know my string instruments. I don't know how it ties into her lore that she can do this. Like,
yeah,
what is it about the
songs? To Happy, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah, it could be.
Because Happy's literally just like, yeah, they experimented on me, and now I sign, I make monsters. That's just my life now, I guess. And that's kind of all they did with it.
But I think the variety of songs here is interesting, and variety of abilities. Like, Leda seems to be like a very versatile unit. But yeah, I like all these Blazards that were shown. The only one that underwhelmed me was Theodora's, but I'm sure there's got to be more to it. And also, Theodora has battalions, so
true.
That's kind of its own thing. We also saw in this section of the trailer, we saw the return of Turnwheel, or Divine Pulse, or whatever it was called.
Actually, it's called Fortuna's Blessing.
Dude, they choose a new name every time, but like, this seems to. Does this cost currency?
I've tried seeing if we can see that being reduced by using it. It seems really strange to have that on the screen if it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, because there's a point where it gets used, but it doesn't go down, or you don't see a currency get spent, but then it shows it on the screen.
It's like 500 different ways to interpret this, going from like maybe it costs 1 sand per like action you go back, per turn you go back, maybe you can only use it 100 times throughout the entire game. Maybe you can use it 100 times per chapter. I don't know. All these are distinct possibilities.
Yeah, I'm very curious how they implement this, because they've been pretty generous with the turn wheel in general. I doubt they'll clamp down on it more in terms of making it more difficult or costly to use. Like, I doubt
if anything,
it.
it's the reverse. Like, they started with a limited amounts in Echoes and 3 houses, where it starts with like 3 and it goes up slowly as you unlock more. And then Engage are like, oh, screw it, just get 10 for the entire game.
Here you go.
just take it, have fun.
Just take.
I'm hoping for one of those approaches. Basically, I hope it's not limited in some way because it's gonna feel bad to use them.
We've also seen this Divine Sand on I think another screen too. It was like the statues, I think. I forget what screen it is, but this Divine Sand doesn't only appear here; it appears in other places. So I'll be very interested to see how this currency works. But I think there's no surprise that this mechanic's back. This mechanic is gonna stay.
Mm-hmm. Do you find yourself enjoying Fire Emblem more with the turn wheel compared to without before?
I'd say I use it. I'd say generally Fire Emblem's done a good job of not making the map design reliant on it. Like, the map design still does a good job of being effective without it feeling like, oh, you need to use the turn wheel to kind of get through this, like, even if you're playing well. So I think as a quality of life feature, it stayed in that category of quality of life pretty well and not encroached on the map design too much, so I'd say yes. I very rarely do classic Iron Man playthroughs anymore, so for me this is just a useful thing to have. Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, same. I would not like to have to reset a really long chapter if I was just, especially when I'm first trying to make content, trying to get used to the game. It was really nice to be able to rewind stuff, and it just allows you to try things out, and if they don't work out, you don't get punished too heavily for it.
Yeah, I can't imagine the game without it anymore. But yeah, I'm not mad that it's back.
Same.
Getting into, we already talked a little bit about the classes, but like, there's some really interesting classes in this game. I think it's really funny. They open up with like Shido, and then it goes like Bardinger, and I'm like, whoa, those are two, and then it's just Bishop. like here's
always
two
the
really
same.
Crazy new classes, and then it's like, and here's Bishop.
You can be a bishop, or it can be an elephant rider. Choose wisely.
Yeah, like, but I loved like the classes that we've seen. They've also gone crazy on the names in some cases. Like, what the fuck is a Bardinger? Like, I think I need to go Google that, because usually this would just be like knight, like, or like
social knight, cavalier.
Yeah, cavalier. Like, what? But we're getting a little funky with it, with the class names, which is fun. I assume so they can have more variety in classes that have, similar loadouts.
It reminds me of like Fate's Hoshido, which had a lot of classes like that. It's basically just the equivalent of, and then the Nori classes were more like, I don't know, generic ones, the ones we know and love.
We also get this like, this tiered system, like in terms of the beginner, advanced. I forget what the last one's called. It's beginner, specialty, advanced. This is kind of more like a three houses class system, in addition to like the exams are back. I'm not huge on the three houses system for this, honestly. I prefer the more conventional, get to 20, promote, get to 20, cap, but like what gets me excited here is the variety. The variety looks insane across all these classes.
Yeah, I think it fits better in Three Houses, right? Because that was a game where you were actually teaching students how to get better and better at war. It was a war academy. I don't think you go to a tournament for the same kind of thing. So it feels like they mostly just did it because Three Houses did it. But it's kind of a cynical way to look at it. It'll probably work fine for gameplay purposes because it did in Three Houses. But I would have been okay with the old system too.
It'll work fine. Like, I'm not too upset about it. The thing that my takeaway from class is just the classes look fucking cool. Like, we've got the ostrich kind of cavalry stuff. We've got, in terms of the theming, even of basic infantry classes, like they showed Shido, they showed this gladiator class. It seems like there's multiple subclasses of mages, even way more than we've had before. But yeah, the classes look so cool.
Pretty varied animations too. I like them a lot, what I've seen so far.
The animations look great. And in general, we haven't really talked about that, but the game looks really good. Like, the animations look crisp and the game looks good. And that's not something I could say about Three Houses. They've definitely kind of taken the best of both worlds from Engage and 3 houses in terms of the visual direction, and it looks so much better. Also, I want to shout out Armored Knight, who this character is just called Goliath, and they're just fucking huge, and I love that.
He's not even all armored. Like, he's just big with a big shield, and that's just how he rolls. And that's his whole defense is just in the shield.
Armored Knight. How much armor is he even wearing, bro?
He's got the dong armor.
Yeah, he's protecting what he needs to protect. But like, other than that, like, he's wearing less armor than I think some mages are. Like,
in fact, if you took away the shield, he looks more like a warrior from other games with the spikes and everything on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And he got the chains. I didn't even notice the chains before.
Yeah, he's rocking chains just all around the fit too. That bit. The designs in general look great. The character designs, I'm super into them. Chariots. This class looks fucking dope.
That's hilarious. The double horse carriage.
Yeah, the horse-drawn carriage is flying through enemies. Like, I don't know how much damage this will do or how you charge up this ability or what it costs, but this is the type of stuff I've wanted Fire Emblem to do for a while. Like, for a long time, we really stuck with a lot of the basic class types, and now we're just kind of getting crazy with it, and I love it. It's kind of like I guess Sigurd's engage ability, the override. I think that was what it was called.
Kind of. I think we see it again with the Elephant Rider show off.
Yeah, the Elephant Rider also has it. So I'm excited for that too. I'm excited to see maybe what engage abilities come back into the classes, because I'm sure that's not the only one that'll kind of make a cameo. Obviously, we have the advanced classes too, but like Elephant Rider. Excuse me? Excuse me? Okay.
There's no one in the world who is not on board with this Anna riding an elephant.
I'm so hyped for this shit. Like, also, I love the fact it's Anna on the elephant, because of course it's Anna on an elephant. But this looks awesome. One, being able to use, because it looks like they take up 4 tiles.
Yeah.
Like, that is a 4-tile unit. Being able to control a 4-tile unit with an override ability, holy shit. We'll see how it plays out in practice, like, because I assume you can't just do constant overrides. Like, there has to be a constant default, thing that you do. Whether that's archery from the top of it, or like, I guess maybe you attack like you would just from a horse.
Yeah, maybe you build up some kind of gauge.
Maybe there's a gauge or something you build up. I don't know what it'll cost, but...
Or maybe you have to move full move to use it. He has to like build up momentum to trample people.
Because look at that damage.
Oh my god. They never stood a chance.
This is exactly what I mean of when I see the class variety and weapon variety and Fire Emblem getting crazier with it. This is exactly the type of stuff and ideas that get enabled by that. And then you see it in motion and you're like, oh yeah.
I hope it's every bit as satisfying as it looks here. Like every time I use it.
Yeah, then we just got a Dragoon.
Just a person. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about who's on it. But like, it is crazy they did just kind of throw Seteth in here. Just in the class portion of the trailer. Like, oh yeah, here's Seteth. I don't really have much commentary on what Seteth is going to do in the story, because we don't really know. But if Seteth is here, then maybe other characters are also here. Presumably Flame could be here too.
If there's like a possibility Flame is not born yet because it's taking place in the past.
True.
There's a possibility that Flame is hiding in plain sight, maybe beneath a cat mask somewhere.
Yeah, maybe a very conspicuous or inconspicuous cat mask. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out, but I actually don't have much speculation because I just don't know. I
think what Seteth is pretty funny. That I think you can see in his portrait that his eyebrows are still green, so he didn't even paint his entire hair. If this is indeed a disguise.
Yeah, his eyebrows are green.
The tips of his hair are green as well.
And the tips, yeah. And the part of his hair in the middle is also green.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting into the structure kind of part of the trailer of like, the free time that you have. I saw people when they saw this screenshot initially of like 172 turns. Like, that's a lot, or that's a long time. I'm less convinced. I think 172 turns, based on all the activities that they showed, it looks like most activities burn turns in some way. I could see you going through this pretty fast in between chapters, depending on what you do. But I will say, my least favorite part of Three Houses was the monastery. You know, I assume they've made improvements. I assume it'll be better executed or more interesting and engaging. If it isn't, then I might have the same problem with this game I had with Three Houses, and that is spending all this time doing management activities as opposed to playing the game, which is ultimately what I like Fire Emblem for, is the turn-based tactics gameplay.
Well, fortunately, they did show that for people like you and perhaps me, you can automate this process firmware. I don't know what you'd lose by that happening, but and that's fine. Like, I'm glad that is in there just in case. But if they're gonna put so many resources towards making all these different activities, I want them to be good. I want to do them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So hopefully they are fun. I think when Fire Emblem fans initially saw 172 turns, like that very mean screenshot, I guess, to have in front of you. Because when Fire Emblem fans think 172 turns, they think like, oh, I arena grinded for 172 turns, or I did something else for 172 turns. That's a long time, but like you said, it's more of a currency that might burn turns like 20, 30, 40 at a time, and then suddenly you're done and you're out. And I think to some extent, I think I also prefer when Fire Emblem focuses on the turn-based tactics and not so much the kind of like daily life simulator around it, like the kind of the personification of Fire Emblem. I don't love that trend, but I do enjoy some level of optimizing preparations in that way. Like I did a whole playthrough of Three Houses, talking through decisions with my co-host, and I really enjoyed that. But it can make replays very brutal. It can make the game less accessible, and if it contains, for example, like unskippable animations of people sitting on their shared dinner, like your main character is eating like their 5th shared meal for the day, it gets a little tedious. So hopefully they've streamlined the process at the very least, and hopefully there's enough different things that you can do that are interesting, and you're not just doing what you're doing in Three Houses, which like the same best, like by far the best options over and over, like going to the garden and then eating 5 meals and then maybe doing like 1 faculty training. That was basically Three Houses, like half of Three Houses. That was really boring. But for the early game of Three Houses, I kind of enjoyed it, so I hope it's similar to that for the entire game. Since the class system is the way it was in Three Houses, I'm expecting it to be similar, and that means the later game parts will probably be less interesting, and maybe we won't have this entire game loop for the entirety of it. Like, can you imagine if you're in a post-apocalyptic world and you're like, oh, I'm finally free of the mini-managing, and then they just rebuild the Colosseum so you can do these activities anyway in like a burning ruins. That'd be not great.
I think the innkeeper would be dead. You know, the innkeeper who does like the skip mechanic.
Oh, that means you can't automate it anymore. GG.
Yeah, I think she died in the apocalypse, unless she's hanging around somewhere and it's like, hey, what's up? You can rest. Like, so we'll see how it plays out. I think another interesting thing was they kind of just show you the map layout and where enemies are. They did show you this information.
True.
And they're like, here's the information. Now go build your team or go make the changes you need to kind of take on this challenge or what we're showing you. And I think that's really interesting, because sometimes I feel with these, it's very open-ended, and you can, unless you really are into like and familiar with all the mechanics, it'd be hard to know what to build toward or like what you're going to be facing. And I actually really like this of like, okay, here's what you're going to be up against. Now go crazy with the mechanics and go like adjust your team to fit this challenge. Like in terms of like, and you can do it during the micromanaging process and not just on the map preparation screen, right? Because usually you only get this information on map prep.
Yeah, that's true.
Or you've done you've played through the game before, so you just know where the enemies are, what you're going to be dealing with in the upcoming chapter. So I like that they've kind of baked this in to the system of like, hey, here's where your level should be. Here's maybe some suggestions.
I hope the advice will be effective, because for example, I'm noticing that they're advising you to train some Orneus riders, which I think are mounted units, and then they have like lances all over the map, so hopefully it doesn't backfire to follow their suggestions here. I think
these are swords.
Oh, well,
There's maybe one lance on the far
Oh, okay, yeah, I did look at some. Okay, in that case, all right, they're onto something probably. I will say, like, in general, I don't think we saw any evidence of the weapon triangle being in there, right? So
I've not seen any mention of it either.
So I wonder how much it matters what exactly you bring to this kind of battle. Like, why would you specifically need these suggested classes and items for these enemies? I guess if there's almost no lances, then Ornir's Riders makes sense. And I guess if there's armor knights, then having black magic users might be good. Because otherwise, I'm not sure what the suggestions are pointing towards. It looks like a very diverse field that you're up against here.
Also, now you pointed it out, if there's we haven't seen any weapon triangle in action. No break mechanic?
Surely we would have seen it by now if it wasn't there.
We must have.
They could have hidden it like very deliberately, but I'm sure there's like at least one combat somewhere where the break mechanic would activate if it wasn't in the game.
Which is interesting. I mean, I liked break as a mechanic, but yeah, if you're moved away from weapon triangle, yeah, there's no break, because maybe break could be a state in some way that could be inflicted in this game, but maybe not through weapon triangle. Maybe
you break if an elephant steps on you. I don't
know. Some people would. I wouldn't, but some people might break. But, We also have the return of dungeons from Echoes. It looks like you explore the world map, and then there's dungeons on the world map, and then you go into the dungeons. Seems like this is the main place for weapon forging resources, like I guess going into caves and just literally getting like these types of resources.
So glad we have confirmation that the return of smithing stone and wood steel from Three Houses. Iconic Fire Emblem items at this point.
Iconic. But what the fuck is this? What am I looking at? Like, how is this going to actually work? It seems so bizarre to have this as a one-off mechanic, to be honest. Like, why spend all the time implementing this just for this?
It might be they thought this was faster paced than the battles that you encounter in Echoes in the caves there. They thought this might be a better fit for this kind of encounter. In Echoes, you often have like the same exact map with almost the same exact enemy layout. This might be... I mean, this would still be repetitive in the same way because it's probably still going to have similar battles, but it might be a nice change of pace.
Yeah, I think maybe the change of pace is probably where they came from on this, of like, they already have the enemy skirmishes on the overworld map. This would also let them reuse probably the assets, like, because it looks like you're in the same space. Like, here I can have the turn-based battle just happen wherever you ran into the enemy, and then it just happens, like, in that location. Like, as opposed to having to make a new top-down map asset for it. So there's probably a few reasons they chose this, but when I first saw this, I was just taken aback of like, whoa, okay, guess we're doing this.
Yeah.
They also looks like they have an auto battle as well. Also, skip to conclusion.
Yeah, there are like, I saw notice this as well. I think once they get a little bit further into the battle, there's another option. There's like 3 ways to skip what you're doing here, which is crazy. Yeah, retreat as well. Like you can get out of the battle, you can do the battle automatically, you can skip to conclusion. If I was confident in what I was making, I wouldn't include this many ways to skip it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it is bizarre. I guess this is a good way to segue into the world map in general. And all the stuff that's happening here in terms of you just leave the city and just go out into the world. I really hope this is fun. Because this is the type of thing I would really like if executed properly. In the same way, like I was saying earlier, like I want to see the world. I want to, go to the places. But if this isn't fun and you need to do this to get, like, critical resources, then I can see it really being a drag. And I really hope it's fun. I also like how everything's named. It makes the world feel way more thought about. Like, the Alma Great Plains. Like, I love this stuff. Or Bugs Burrow at the top there. Like, it's awesome, so...
I agree. I remember Three Houses had a slightly similar thing going on with like its skirmishes where you could go to certain places, and those places had names kind of, but you never saw them on a map somewhere. So I think this really helps to, well, world build, like you say. It's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, these enemy encounters that they did show seem kind of more in the vein of like, here's just a generic map, fight the enemies on this generic map, right? Like, I doubt these maps are going to be anything too crazy that you skirmish on. We'll see. I mean, also, this thief does not have a face.
Oh yeah, no, the generic enemies in general do not seem to have faces. Actually, one of the things I'm a little worried about that is going to last for the entire game. But there have been some generic enemies that have faces, so I'm kind of confused if it's going to be an enemy-wide problem or just for skirmishes and just battles where you fight people that are not named. Because I really like the generic portraits that Fire Emblem has, especially like Fates has really cool portraits in the generics, but I saw a theory that maybe they didn't bother making these assets because the whole game has people with like slightly different skin tones, and they were worried that they would have to do that for enemies too. I feel like they couldn't have just done it. Like, this just looks so empty.
I mean, this gets into another topic of this game looks massive in scope.
Yes.
Like, massive. And there's probably going to be a few edges like this where they had to cut some corners to make it work. So you get generic enemies like this in these instances. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Something else that is just around, it seems like this is going back into Daxian. It seems like there's lots of characters to recruit just around the city. And I'll be interested to see how this works with the different stories. Can you recruit every character to each story? This gets into story structure, but we don't have a traditional route split like we do in Three Houses where, well, if they're on your team, then they can't be on the other team, right? It seems like there's just a pool of characters that everyone can pull from.
Yeah, I've been wondering myself how that is going to work, but I mean, your guess is as good as mine as how exactly it's going to work. There might be some characters have like more affinity towards one protagonist or something. I failed to recruit, correct. I think I saw something about like if you try multiple times, you're more likely to work later on as well. So there's like a ton of different ways that they could go with this. We know that in the end, you're going to have, and again, it does kind of get into story structure, but you're going to unite these protagonists in some way to fight for you. And if you can recruit a character like to multiple teams, that would make it really weird. So maybe you can only recruit them to like one army and that's it. That would be a very logical way to make it work.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I am glad that it seems they've put just as much effort into these characters that are recruitable, just that are around, as they have into the main cast. Like, I've seen a lot of people who have their favorites among these kind of like characters just around the Colosseum or around Daxian. We'll see how they integrate with the plot, though, in that case. Because if they can either be on your team or not on your team, that kind of limits how much impact they have story-wise.
At the very least, they'll have supports with someone, right, to flash them out. And I think select quotes are in this game, which are, I feel like, a huge part of characterizations. Like when you pick them in battle, like when you use them to move their turn. I feel like that always kind of works to make characters feel alive.
Yeah, I mean, have we seen the support conversation screen in terms of like the interface? I'm just gonna look real quick.
I don't remember seeing it, but who knows?
No,
might have missed it.
We've just seen the conversations themselves happening. Which I guess we'll see how this plays out. I hope that these conversations are kind of, it looks like they're the traditional Fire Emblem conversations, but I really hope they, they go in depth and they're not just played for comedy. I feel like in Engage, a lot of it was played for comedy a lot of the time, which isn't bad in terms of like as a tone to hit, but like this game seems to take itself more seriously, and I really do want to learn about these characters, and it seems like support conversations are going to be kind of like the main way to do so for certain characters, because they may or may not be involved in the plot in certain ways.
You know what would really help if you could just talk to these people around, if they're just around in the Colosseum, like in the monastery. That I think is another good way to flesh out characters. If you just have, if something happens in a world and they have something to talk about in relation to it, that also both helps the world and the characters a lot.
When I saw this, in terms of the route switching mechanic or the story switching mechanic, I kid you not, I literally stood up and clapped. Like,
I clapped when I saw the Pale Raven.
When I saw the Pale Raven's perch, and I saw that via this mechanic, you can just swap between the routes, seemingly whenever you want to, I was so happy, because that was another one of my biggest complaints from Three Houses. I really did not like that I had to play through the whole game again and the entire first act again to get to the other stories. I despised it. Something like this where maybe I'm going through a story, I'm not vibing with it, I just want to see someone else's story, I can just hop to it. Yes, please. It raises questions of, again, the game structure of how this works. I guess, is it just like having a save file for each different, I guess, story in parallel that you're kind of doing? Overall, I'm a big fan of this. I'm a big fan of this.
How do you hope that it would work? Because every possible way that I can think of how this would work leaves me with some questions of the I'm a little worried variety. Like, imagine you are playing Leda routes and you're not enjoying yourself. So it's like, all right, let's check out. I think your next favorite was like Theodora. So you want to go to Theodora, but you're like 5 chapters in, and you did like 5 chapters worth of micromanaging to get through that, and then you switch to Theodora. The way I see it, there's 2 ways it can go. One is you go back to the beginning and you have to do all the beginning again, but from a slightly different perspectives, which would be a bit repetitive. Like, you'll see it from Theodora's perspective, which is somewhat refreshing, but probably not all new. Like, you'll maybe have to play all the tutorials again, for example. And then you get back to Leda's point, and from there you're fine. Like, you get to the point where you were with Leda, and then from there you're probably fine. The alternative is that you just jump into Theodora's chapter 5 and have no idea what the hell she's going on about. That'd be pretty bad. So I don't see a good way to do it, but I'm sure they found something.
I think it has to be the first one, in terms of you just play through the opening act. I guess the caveat here is that I'm assuming that the stories are all extremely distinctive, because that's the impression that's been given. Rather than, the opening act of Three Houses is, with some minor difference, pretty much the same for every character. You're playing all the same maps. The same story beats are getting hit. I don't see there's any way that this is how that works in this game. Like, maybe some Coliseum fights might be the same, but the overarching story arcs are so different in terms of the motivations and what they want to do in the cast that I wouldn't mind going to the beginning. If let's say, I wasn't enjoying Later's route, I go Theodora's route, I wouldn't mind just hopping over, even if it means I start the beginning of that story. Because my assumption is that the routes are unique enough for that to feel fresh or fine.
I expect that the very beginning will probably be different, because I think every character's way of getting to the Aurora games is slightly different. Like we talked about, like Leda goes there actively to seek revenge. Dietrich gets washed up on a beach somewhere. Like, they're all traveling there, probably with some kind of introductory chapter, like we've seen Dietrich's ship battle. But I think once you get to the Aurora games, there'll probably be a significant overlap in what you're doing. Like, the game has to teach you how to the whole area works somehow. So you probably have to redo some bits at least, but that's okay. That's fine.
Because no matter what route you pick, presumably if it's your first time playthrough, you would need to learn, how stuff works. Yeah. Whether you picked whatever character you picked, you need to learn that. So, but I could stomach that if it means that later I can just switch whenever I want between all 4 stories. That's something I can bear. We've been yapping for quite a bit. I'm actually going to jump, because we're talking about story structure stuff and stuff related to the story structure.
Probably have to go there.
I'm going to jump to the whole time skip thing.
Whoa, a time skip to the time skip. You're a genius. Narrative genius, I tell you.
But something that they say, first of all, they jump to this, the world's ruined. But the narration says the story begins here. And you get all this, Eshmel's introduced, you have Sothis here. It seems like you start the game here. And maybe this could actually address the tutorial thing you're talking about. Maybe the tutorial's here.
Oh, I was thinking the tutorial for the area.
For the Coliseum stuff.
But the basic combat tutorial could be here, for sure.
But they say the game starts here, very explicitly. Like, you start in the future. And then you time travel back to the Coliseum time to presumably, set things right. And they show footage of, it seems like, just fight the final boss, right away. Also, am I crazy or does this emblem look very Grima-like? Or am I projecting?
I think Grima's symbol is a little different, but I'm not very good at details like that, so not sure. Could be.
Anyways, regardless, it looks like you can just fight the final boss and it just fucking kills you if you want.
Yeah, it's not much of a fight. You cannot do damage to him, it looks like, so I don't know if this is a real choice or just a cutscene in the game, as it were.
Yeah, because they say, will you fight the final boss alone? Or will you go back and collect allies or whatever? Like, that's what they said.
I really want to try it when I'm first, like, playing this game for the very first time. Like, I'm just going to hit that button and see what happens. But if I have to go through, like, 3 chapters first before I get to this part where he's fighting the actual final boss, I don't know if that's what I want. Like, will I spoil things for myself if I do that? Probably not, right? They wouldn't make the game like that. But also, like, how interesting can it really be? You're fighting the Demon Lord. Baylor.
You're fighting Fire Emblem Dragon, like that's it. Like, and that's actually one critique I have, because for the most part I'm very positive on this game, but I'm kind of annoyed that the bad guys are very generic. Like, are we doing zombies again? Why are we doing zombies?
Yeah, this is what the 3rd, 4th time now. You have to risen.
This is like the 4th time you brought zombies to show and tell. Can we not? Like. And we're doing Fire Emblem Dragon Dark Lord stuff. Which, you know what? It seems like the core character stories are interesting, but it looks like this overarching one. I hope there's more to it than just Fire Emblem generic stuff. My assumption, or my hunch of how this works, is that you've got the big bad final boss. And then by completing each story, or each character's story, in some way you build strength. In this time, where you change the past to change the future type thing, like you're on a Lucina type peak. Like, you are Lucina in this game, basically. And then at a certain point, you could reach a threshold of like, okay, I've completed 2 of the 4 stories. I'm strong enough to beat the final boss. Or I've completed most of the story. I assume you would need to complete a story to gain strength. It would be weird if I only half completed every route and I could now beat the final boss. But I assume there's a threshold at which it'll be for different players based on their skill level, but based on how much of the story you've completed, where you could then beat the final boss and finish the game in quotations. Because obviously I assume you would want to go finish every story route to see what happens, but that's my hunch of how it works. I don't know how it works in practice, of like, how does completing a route actually make you stronger? Like, do your units get teleported to here once you beat the route? Like how does the stuff you're building up in all these stories translate to here?
Get in, losers. We're going time traveling.
Yeah. But I'm interested to see how it works. And I think it's a unique structure for Fire Emblem. We're kind of going Breath of the Wild mode.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that comparison before.
But yeah, we'll see how it works. I don't know how it'll work or how to make this work, to be honest. But I'm intrigued.
It's an interesting overarching structure. I hope it doesn't become an overshadowing structure, because how much screen time can you really give to characters like Letta and Theodora in that, like, the main plots, like the 5 years later part, if they're optional? Like, can they have more than just generic lines about how they react to the bit back dragon, or is there room for more character development and interactions and stuff? Because that's what I really want out of those characters. I want them to do more. I'm not super interested in Eshmel and what he has to say about things or not has to say about things. And to extend that, I also think this might hurt the screen time for the allies of the main characters. Like, I don't want to call them retainers yet, because I don't know exactly what their role is. But like, everyone has like 2 or 3 characters that are just kind of tied to them. I don't think they'll get a lot of screen time in this part of the game, and that, I think, is also sad. So hopefully what is there is good. But the premise of it leaves me with some worry about how it will be like. But I am intrigued. I'm still intrigued.
No, so I'm on the same page. Like, I think the core individual stories are really intriguing. But this big overarching story, I worry about the impact it'll have on those personal stories, right? Like, how much of their personal routes and stories will be kind of rendered redundant in the grand scheme of the plot, like the big overarching plot. Because I'm intrigued about these characters and their motivations and how it impacts the story. But if at the end of the day it all boils down to Ishmael and Big Bad Dragon and zombies, then like I don't know how their stories kind of tie into that, because it looks like no matter what, they all die, regardless of what they did in this Colosseum arc initially. I guess you're changing history here.
That was the other thing that really intrigued me about the trailer. So it's like, okay, a Colosseum battle tournament happened, and then 5 years later the world is in ruin, and then somehow these 4 people are the would-be saviors of the world at this point. I wonder what makes them so important.
Why did they get statues?
Why did they get statues exactly? And it's got to be related to like the fact that they can use blaze arts and everything, that they got these arcane powers. Like maybe, because it can't be just that they were participants in this tournament. That alone is not reason enough to be so important within the world. I made the somewhat ham-fisted comparison to like, imagine it like aliens invade the world and we're in trouble. Is the world gonna look at like the winners of the football World Cup and like the 4 finalists or whatever? Like, oh my God, where were Messi and Ronaldo when the bombs dropped or something? Like, this is kind of weird.
They must have done something of import to be immortalized in this way. I just don't know what. But
like,
yeah,
I think no matter what, like whoever star you pick is probably gonna win the tournament, right? Like that's the POV you're watching. But then what makes the others so special in this timeline that they deserve a statue like that? Like, ooh, we got knocked out in top 8. That
we got knocked
mean anything
out
within
in
universe,
8.
Right? Yeah.
All right, we've been yapping for an hour and a half, and then you know what's crazy? There was more in there we didn't even get to talk about. But I think I'm gonna have to cut it off there.
That makes sense. We are professional yappers. It happens.
We are professional yappers. We may or may not do this on a regular basis in terms of just yap at cameras and into microphones nonstop. But yeah, thanks for joining me, Mecca. That was actually a great conversation. Like, I learned actually a bunch of stuff I hadn't noticed, and like, it was just fun talking about this with you. And I'm super excited for this game to come out. We're only about a month and a bit away.
No problem. It was a lot of fun. Always fun to talk and have someone talk back to me. Don't always have that luxury. So it was nice to go back and forth on this. I'm glad to see that we are on the same page about a lot of things. Makes me feel validated.
If you're excited for Fortune's Weave or you've got your own thoughts, leave them down in the comments. I'm sure there will be more Fortune's Weave content on the way. I'm actually very excited about this game, so I'm sure you'll see more from me on Fortune's Weave if you haven't already. And if you're not already, go check out Mecha, link in the description, and probably on your screen at the end of the video as well.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe to Pavise Gaming either.
Yeah. Well, you actually, for like my subscribers who really care about this specific soundbite, you have to say "Are you subscribed to Pavise Gaming?" soundbite. So actually, run that back.
Say the line, Bart.
Say the line.
Are you subscribed to Pavise Gaming?
You know what? Don't even add anything else to that. Thanks everybody for tuning in. See you around.